In the shadow-drenched town of Blackthorn Hill, where the air smelled of decay and the sky never seemed to lighten past a sickly gray, there stood an antique shop so forgotten it might as well have been a specter. The sign above the door read, "Curios and Wonders," but the glass was frosted with grime, and the words seemed to whisper rather than proclaim. The townsfolk avoided it, not out of fear, but because it was a place that felt forgotten. Like a memory you couldn't quite grasp. It lingered on the edge of consciousness but never fully materialized. Until one day it did. Emily Maynard, a curious but reckless teenager, pushed open the creaking door. A bell jingled, and the sound echoed unnaturally long. Inside, the shop was cramped, filled with peculiar objects. A taxidermied owl with glassy, human-like eyes, a music box that played a haunting lullaby, and a mirror whose surface rippled like water. Behind the counter stood the shopkeeper, an impossibly thin man with skin as pale as the belly of a fish. His eyes were sunken, and his smile was a thin, mirthless line. "Welcome," he said, his voice like the rustling of dry leaves. "I've been waiting." Emily laughed nervously. "Waiting for me?" "Not you," he replied, his gaze drifting past her as if something unseen lingered in the doorway. "For someone willing to listen." He gestured to a small, unassuming box on the counter. It was made of a wood she didn't recognize, adorned with symbols that seemed to shift as she looked at them. "That," he said, "is the memory eater. It devours the past, erases pain, and brings peace." Emily's heart raced. Her mother had died 6 months prior, and the grief still felt like a weight chained to her chest. "How does it work?" "You open it," he said simply. "But be warned, it hungers. And once it tastes your sorrow, it will crave more." Desperation clouded her judgment. She bought the box and took it home, her fingers trembling as she lifted the lid. A faint hum filled the air, and a shadowy mist swirled out, twisting into shapes that felt familiar. Memories. Her memories. At first, it was glorious. The pain of losing her mother faded, replaced by a hollow calm. But then, other memories began to vanish. Her first day of school, her birthday parties, the smell of her mother's cooking. She tried to stop it, but the box wouldn't close. The mist grew thicker, more aggressive, and she realized too late that the memory eater wasn't just feeding on her pain, it was feeding on her. When the townsfolk found her, she was catatonic, the box still clutched in her hands. They took it back to the shop, but the shopkeeper was gone, and the store had returned to its forgotten state. Some say on quiet nights, you can still hear Emily's whispers, pleading for someone to remember her. And if you ever find yourself in Blackthorn Hill, don't look for the shop. Because if you do, and if it finds you, the memory eater will open, and it will hunger. And